I've done a lot of nutrition stuff over my life, but it's like, good timing. And like, and look what Sylvie's talking about today.
Well, I just finished the presentation 15 minutes ago.
Hey, you're done. That's a win.
Well, I had it before, and so it's something that I created. And then when I did like a macro challenge in our page, and I was like, I need to add some of that information. So I completely kind of revamped it. So it's a lot of information. So I hope you're ready to
I think our whole life is like, learning how to eat and food sensitivities and all that kind of stuff. So well, I'm always open to, and then hormones change everything. It's like, I'm like, you know what? I'll just take whatever you got to offer. Let's just see.
Well, I didn't get into food sensitivities because obviously that's individual, and then hormones, that's a whole other thing. I
know.
I'm just going to talk about the macros and what you should be thinking about, because literally those will come hand in hand with any kind of, insensitive, like sensitivities you might have. But, I just put like so there's calculators. I have,
yep. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Mm-hmm. Well, you'll get the recording of this.
I think most of us know what our I've actually done like testing and everything. So I know what all my sensitive things are. So it's even like,
are you?
But this happens every once in a while where it's like, I don't know, so many people struggle with gut issues. It's pretty good. I'm in a good place, but it happens, right? And I'm always curious because I've talked to so many people about macros, and I always have like, you kind of hear similar stuff, but different stuff. So I'm always just curious, in your experience, what do you recommend? And
well, I went to a lot of websites and I brought out calculators. So, it does require, when I first started looking like really closely, I was like 25, 26. That was like 25 years ago. And I used the Zone diet. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. So, but that was in the 90s, right? I think that was the only thing that was out there. So I tried it for 6 months, and it kind of made sense. Like it talks all about insulin levels, which is basically, what we need to balance out to have constant energy and, mood and everything. So I did that for probably about 6 months. I learned quite a bit. I did all, and that's a 33 rule. Protein, carbs to fats. So a third of a third of a third. And, getting that balance out in like, it worked for me back then. It made me realize a lot of things. And I've just kind of worked off of that ever since. And I've had different experiences, like in my 30s when going to macros, when I did my first figure competition in 2004. Okay. So 2004, I was like 20 years ago. It has evolved since I first stepped on the stage, hugely. But what my coach did is he made me realize what I was eating, and made me decide what I wanted, like what was good and what was bad based on the macros he was giving me. So he didn't give me a meal plan like what other coaches did afterwards. He made me, do the research and figure it out for myself. And that was like a 4 or 5 month stint. I started with calories, just counting calories. What he would do is he would carb cycle. Or calorie cycle. So Monday would be 1,500 calories. I could eat whatever I wanted for 1,500 calories. Tuesday, 18, Wednesday, 2,000, back down to 1,300, 1,300, then 1,100. It was a 5-day cycle. So I never ate the same thing every day. I had more, a little bit of deprivation than adding. And so I did that for probably about 2 months. And then, so I had to sit every night and decide what I was going to eat based on what he gave me. So it really makes you think like, oh, do I want this? Because it's half of my calories, then you're like, okay, I won't eat that. I'll eat something else. And it was a big learning curve. And then he broke it down to macros. So I got like the calories down, and then it was macros. So because I was building muscle, like, say protein was, 180 grams, then carbs was like 110, then fats was 45. So it was a very low fat kind of, and they were different every day, different calculations. So I had to sit there again and then make it all a balance. And you see me, I went down 118 pounds. I was the lightest I've ever been.
I did something like this like 10 years ago. And that's what I felt. Same thing. It's like I actually lost too much weight. And then, my big thing is sustainability. So I'm kind of curious how your story ends. Continues where you are now.
So this is 20 years ago, right? So that experience, like he didn't really track me as well because I was eating too less. I was losing too much. I didn't lose muscle because I was working out. I was eating enough protein, but I was losing a lot of fat. I never lost my period. But the week after, all I did was eat cookies. Like it was just like,
that's what everybody says.
Like, right? But that's when you're not managed properly.
Yeah.
It should never be that like that. And then you're just like, what do I do after? And I think it's evolved a lot with coaches where they, just don't coach up to the day and then they're gone, and then you're like, what do I eat? And then you see a lot of girls just like balloon up like hugely, like this, like, okay, off season, I'll add an extra 30 pounds, but then I want to go back in season. Then I have to lose it. It's just, it's a really bad yo-yo that some girls get into. But anyways, that was my experience. And so I learned a ton from that. And I've always applied that, like even to clients, whether you want to do whole foods, it's always like, okay, what are you eating now? To what you should be eating, like too many carbs, too little protein, which is usually the case, high in fat, because because you're eating a lot of processed things. But anyways, let's get into it because I got lots of information. So it's going to be kind of like based on that. I've got a lot of links. So I will actually just send you the presentation or the one sheet that has all the links on it that are taken, like the information is taken from these links so you can go in and do your own research. All right, let's do this. Okay, that's not what I want you to see. That's like, are you guys showing up?
It happens to me all the time. I'm like, let me share my screen here for this webinar. Oh, wait.
Just let me get lit on. Yeah, okay.
Sarah, I love your signs behind you. I just want to say.
Thank you. I'm a big quote person.
Yeah, me too. But it's a nice setup. It's like I'm trying to work on my office too because it's like a blank wall behind me.
Oh no, my husband hates it. He always mocks this background. Actually, he's like, you need to go up higher.
Yeah, if you put them on the wall.
That's what I think. I need to put something over. I always go the opposite.
It's the shine one that caught my eye.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that one like right up in the corner would be really.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Let me just
side note. Sorry.
No, I mean, it's perfect timing because I work with a nutritionist, and this last month, perfect example of food sensitivity and what you're eating makes a difference. I really should not be having gluten or dairy. And this last month, because I'm doing food sensitivity testing, actually, I had to incorporate everything in. I've gained 8 pounds just by doing that.
Oh,
yeah. He's not going to be happy with me tonight when I meet with him.
Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't know if you guys are going to disappear once I launch this. Okay, there you are. Okay. So I've just done this based nutrition for athletes, not just for athletes, it's for everybody. But, I have an element in here that's based on your workouts, your plans. So,
everyone has an inner athlete, whether they
yeah,
choose
well,
to use it or not.
Here's the thing, Sarah, if you're not sitting on your couch and you're getting up and you're working and you're walking and you're cycling, you're sitting on your Peloton, you're an athlete in my eyes. So because you're moving your body forward, and, this stuff will become important to you because you're going to get more active because you're already on that trajectory, like on that path. So here, this is kind of what we're going to be going over. All right. So the aging athlete, these are just some of the things I love this. I'm going to talk more and more about this as I start researching to this, because like I said, we all like that quote, but it's maintaining your healthy weight, eating a certain amount of times during the day, not missing meals or snacks, drinking water, being conscious of your sugars and fats, the right kind, exercising, incorporating recovery, and sleep. So before we always get into this, you should really sit down and ask yourself, what are your goals? Just like everything. I know we're all in the same mastermind. Like, I don't know if you were there last night, but it's like, what are our goals? So it's the same with fitness though. And the funny thing about me is that I've got really great fitness goals and really poor business goals, where a lot of people are probably like the other way around. They're really organized in their business, but the health is kind of like on the backside. So these are kind of like my goals. So I just put them up as an example, but think about what your goals, like if you're active right now in whatever sport or, Sarah's on a Peloton, Binu's on your mountain biking, you're walking, what is it that you're doing right now that you want to improve? You're on it for a reason. So put it to paper and what is it? So that's like right now. And how is it going to help you in the summer? What's your summer going to look like? Then your fitness, meaning strength training. I like to put strength training in there because as we age, it becomes more and more important to build and think about our muscles for, avoiding osteoporosis, arthritis, and all those lovely things that are, us ladies have to look forward to as we get older. So, what are we doing for that? And then your health, which is your nutrition. Now, this is really advanced. It might be more advanced, but when we talk about your goals, you then have to look at your week. So this is my example of just like a 2-week period, because I'm looking at, instead of just working at a 1-week block, is what we typically do, what am I doing Monday to Sunday as for fitness? And then, but what I'm looking at is, if I add more intensity, do I need more recovery days? So I just added that extra week for that. I haven't put all of this into play. It's still new. It doesn't really start till December, but then I'll start navigating. So what I do know is that I work out every morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7:30. That's my strength training. That's when I work out with my group. We're incorporating a hike for the family on Sundays. And as you see on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, you have different times of the day where people work out. And that's why I added it, because not everybody works out in the morning or noon or afternoon, and sometimes they're spread over. But what does your week look like? Because we always talk about putting in things for you first, like self-care first, like your workouts first, your time for yourself first, and then the family, then the business after. So I'm working with a group and I've set up sort of like a training plan. Now, the thing is that for me, I'm looking to do 4 to 6 hours of cycling a week. So what does that look like? Right now, it's not at 4 hours, so I'm going to have to add something. But I just want to give you an example of, what your plan should look like. Because in addition to cardio, you have strength training. And when are you going to get those in? A minimum of 3 to see any kind of results. So I just put that together. And if anybody, like at the end, I'm going to offer, if anybody want help, like I can help you navigate your own thing. Now, this is life balance and workouts. This is also a little bit more on the extreme. But the thing is that if you're into working out, ask yourself, what kind of workouts are you doing? Like, are they all intense? Or do you have any endurance type stuff in the mix? Because a lot of people tend to go out and just like, I'm just going to hammer it out every time I go out on my bike because I have only so much time. Well, that's a good plan if you know exactly what you're doing. But there's the 80-20 rule that we apply to cardio as well. 80% endurance, 20% intensity. So if I'll give Sarah as an example, she's on her Peloton, maybe 3 times a week for say 45 minutes, a shot. One of those workouts should be intense, like a intense interval session. And then the others should be more endurance based, keeping your heart rate at your zone 2, working on your cadence. So it's balancing out that, and it gets more complicated when you add more hours, and because you need to balance it out. So you don't want too much intensity because then you're taking away from your base building. And when you get into more of the, like when you start getting serious into any sport, that becomes really paramount part of your program. So we're going to get into the macros, calories per day. Now, so I just want to show this one. Let me just see if that launches. Can you see this on the side, the health line? Oh, perfect. Okay, so this is the first one, and it's calories. Of course, it's also based on like 1,500 calories for a woman is like kind of the sedentary, like to survive, to make sure all your organs are working and you're getting enough nutrients. And as you add exercise, we should be adding food because we need it for more energy, recovery. And so I just want to give you, just go through this for you, because for myself, I find that I am not eating enough. And so I would say here, active lifestyle, I'm probably between active and very active, probably going into very active for winter. And so here's to maintain my weight, lose weight fast. I'm not into the weight loss thing, but I am looking to have enough energy for my workouts, maintain my weight, build muscle. So if I look at 2,300 calories, I definitely know I'm not getting enough of that. I'm not even getting close to 2,000. And that for me is one of the things that I am striving to work on, because I know that I need more to maintain what I want to do. So for me, that's one of those things that I have to get into and start being more conscious of the food that I'm taking in. So I encourage you to go in and—
Are you going to send us a link to that, Sylvie?
Yeah, this is, you're going to get this whole thing. Okay. I'm going to show you at the end, I believe it's, I'm going to send you the whole
I've tried different calculators and I never know what to trust. So I'm going to trust the one that
you
give.
Healthline seems to be one of the ones that comes up a lot when I was doing my research. You'll notice that particular website, I've taken a lot of information from, but I mean, I know that 1,500 calories is like the baseline for any woman, and 18, so 15, and I think 1,800 for men, living on the couch. And then you start adding calories the more active you are and based on your goals. So if you're getting into muscle development, you're adding way more protein. So you're increasing your protein intake. So it's there, it depends on what you want to do. So, so here, and then, we're talking about calories, and I kind of like Mediterranean diet. I think it's just a fancy name for eating balance, like a balanced meal, like carbs to fats to protein. It's kind of like the zone. There's a lot of fad names out there. Anything low, anything is to be avoided because our body needs a certain amount of nutrients, micronutrients in our day. So this is just something, and I encourage you to go and check that out. All right, protein. This one's a huge one for everybody. Now, there's good proteins. Well, there's not good. So when we look at this one, your daily protein intake, I thought this was kind of interesting. I sent you this link with these attached pictures on it, but we need to get a certain amount based on our weight. And if you look at the calculation that I have here, 0.75 grams is the minimum per pound to equaling how many grams per day. Now, when you know that, this is where calculating your macros is so important, because I found with a lot of my clients, it's the protein that is really low. People think that they get enough. It's really hard to get enough when you're eating it like once, maybe twice a day. And the reality is how you can get more is through protein powders. Otherwise, your cheeses and yogurts and milk are kind of like half protein, half carbs, and some sugars in there. So it really comes down to like the meats that you're eating. And that's where, and if you look like at a bodybuilder, they're like 1.5 grams per pound. So much, much, much higher intake. So this is where it's important. And if you look at the breakdown per day, if you're eating 5 to 6 times, about 20 to 35 grams per day per snack. So 5 times 20, that's, 100, 100 grams and a little extra. So, and this is where getting to know your food is really important too, right? So how many, like if you're eating nuts a lot, like I ate a whole bunch of nuts one day and it ended up being like 1,200 calories of nuts. I nearly fell over. Of like fat, sorry. Like, oh my God. And it was just one of those days, right? I'm like, I'm going to grab all these nuts and I'm just going to eat those as snacks. And then I calculated and I'm like, holy shit. So it's, things that are nuts are a huge eye opener because they're for such a little amount, there's such high in fat. So there's your first calculator or second one. Now, did I do 2 carbs per day? Oh, look at, I got 2 carbs. Look at you guys. Now, this is where I want to point out, a lot of us start looking at net carbs. And what are net carbs? I also find that a lot of people don't even consider how much fiber they're taking in per day. So that's another one to look at. So if you look at net carbs, it's like the amount of carbs in your food or in one food minus the fiber that's in the food, minus the sugar alcohol equals the actual carb, like gram per gram net carb in that serving. So if you look at the example here, what are they looking at here? I don't know, it doesn't really say what they're looking at, but it says it has, 4 grams of carbs minus 2 grams fiber, no sugars, and that's your actual carbs that you're eating. So we know that, carbs make up 45 to 65 or should of your daily intake because we need them. Like, it's hard to say when you're like you're on a low carb, no carb diet, because it's just ridiculous, because your brain needs the sugar from the carbs to actually function. Your body needs it. You need it for energy, to protect against disease, weight control. So you see that, type 2 diabetes is based purely on your diet or the way you eat. And then fiber should be added in there too. I have my neighbor, I'll tell you a little story. He has suffered from a stroke, but he also has type 2 diabetes. And through that, he didn't feel the need to, or want to, he's kind of older, to make some changes. And because he didn't, he lost his sight in one eye. So it's crazy what type 2 diabetes can do to the body. Like, it's absolutely crazy. So carbs are important. They're good. And there's some bad ones. Like here, I love this little diagram here. Good and bad carbs. You got your complex, which is good. As an athlete, we need to be taking in fast, complex carbs that equal quick energy for us. And then there's simple carbs, like from the candy and cereals and pop, and also bread, which drive up our glucose, like our blood insulin. And also drives up our stress and our cortisol. And so everything kind of, snowballs into bad habits. So it's super, super important to be conscious and add more fruits and vegetables to our diet. And you see how it can really affect our blood level over the day. Not to mention like our moods and our energy levels, which typically happen, like if you have like a really high carb, sugary lunch, and then, at least an hour to two down into the afternoon, your head's on the table and people go and run for chips and pop and sugars to bring them up again. Maybe you've incorporate or experience that. But so next is fat per day. Did I have a calculator? No. So I go back to, the zone diet where it's like a third of your daily intake. You should never drop your fat. The function and the benefits, there's so many healthy benefits. Like, first of all, you need energy, for brain function, for body function, hormones. But of course, you can also overdo it with a lot of the bad fats, and that's what drives your health and into, developing some sicknesses. Now, fats. So that was like fats as the micro. Now, fat also holds onto a lot of things that can affect us on an everyday basis. As you see here, different areas affect us differently. So, that's why looking at making some healthier changes, because definitely bring in better, just dropping high blood pressure, balancing that out, bringing down the estrogen, and just having an overall healthier lifestyle. Not to mention it just for the energy. Now, here's the fiber. Here's another calculation. Here's a fact. Average adult consumes only 14 to 15 grams per day, which is actually required to have 20 to 35 grams. Now that goes back to the types of food we're eating. They're more processed. The health benefits are support weight loss, reduce cholesterol, blood sugar level, lowers cardiovascular disease, prevents diabetes, and, promotes healthy gut bacteria. And also, here's the thing. I think it's like when you know you're eating too much fiber, you're gassy. I remember when I was like when I was preparing for my competitions, is that, you're eating a lot of vegetables and you're getting like really gassy. So I'm like, all right, that's a good sign. Not necessarily a bad sign, but I know it also promotes bloating too. So there really needs to be a balance, and that's where coming in and starting to track your food is really important. Now, I know here's a sugar. I threw this in because we all love wine. And for me, these days, and if you notice here, on the left-hand side here, your average, like per day, what is recommended for women is like 25 grams and men 37. Now, of course, this kind of goes up if you're more active and you need more food because you're doing more in your sport, but you can definitely make better choices over like, Cliff Bars and those jelly beans and blocks and things like that, which for me now just disrupt my stomach so much because of the sugar consistency in them. So you'll see here, we have, your ideal great carbs full of fiber. You got your good ones, high in sugars, starchies, sweet potatoes and all your fruit. And then the bad ones, which is obvious, your pop, your breads, your cookies. Now I know wine is in there and we all love it, but it's funny how much grams, like every time I see a grape, if you love grapes, there's like 5 grams of sugar per grape. So if you think about, I know. So if you sit there, yeah, now you know. So you'll never look at a bag of grapes the same again, because if you look at how many grams we should be taking in and how many like grapes you probably eat in one sitting, it's like blows it out of the water. So that was one of those things that I'm like, oh, they're awesome, but in very small quantities. And the thing is about some of the things that I learned when I was preparing for competitions is that we really don't need fruit. We need more greens and red and berries in our diet. Typically when you're preparing for something like that, you're removing a lot of the sugars, and fruits are part of them, unfortunately. So if you look at, the picture I have here on the right, like how many cubes for bananas, it's 3.5. I'm not sure how many servings that is, and even like, the apple, carrots. So it's all these things that you don't typically need to eat, because if you're getting all your fiber or your vitamins and your sugars, they're going to come from your greens. And those are the ones that are more important. So now water intake, super important for hydration. Believe it or not, if you're even slightly dehydrated as an athlete or when you're exercising, it can impact your performance and your energy massively. I don't even know what the percentage, I think it's like 15%, something like that. So it's important that you're hydrating all the time. And I had actually changed this as when I was doing my research. So what I had in here before, and maybe you girls have your own calculation, But what I was told before, it was like your body divided by 2 equals the amount of ounces of water you should be intaking on a daily basis. Now, when I went in and did some research, there was another calculation that I found, and it's your weight times 1.5, which will give you the ounces that you should be drinking. So if I take the calculations, it moved it from 65 to 86 ounces. So if you think, as I weigh 130 pounds. So in any case, we all know that we should be drinking way more water than we are. And here's a little extra bonus is that for every 30 minutes you exercise, you should add 12 ounces, which I never thought about that either.
Yeah, my guy that I work with, it's half an ounce for sedentary people per pound and a full ounce for people if they are active.
Oh, okay. There you go. And then there's, you know, the reason why we all know that our body is made up mostly of water. So it helps, you know, with cells in our tissues and our organs, you know, urination. And if you ever want to know if you are, or here's a quick test. If you want to know you're dehydrated, just taking a look at your urine color. Nice and red, kind of need to eat some more. But I also find that if you're taking vitamins of some sort, you have to, sometimes they change the color as well. So you have to be wary. You just have to be conscious of that. And, you know, and make sure that you might have your own big jug of water that, you know, you drink 2 of those a day, and it's sort of like your allotment for the day. And then you're good. Now let's talk about sleep. I have a link here. I don't know if you're familiar with Dave Asprey. He is huge into health. He used to be in his words, overweight fat guy, 300 pounds. He used to sleep through meetings. I don't know if you've ever listened to any of his interviews so he did an interview with Susan Sly. I add the link here, but what he was talking about a lot was sleep. And it really perked me up as to watching sleep patterns, like how much deep sleep you get in a night. Like you could be getting 8 hours sleep, but it could be shitty sleep. You could be getting like 6 hours sleep and really good quality sleep. But you'll never, just like anything, if you don't, you're never going to know unless you're like tracking it. So the benefits, obviously, energy, muscle growth, mood, you know, sleep deprivation. You don't want to let it compound because it can lead, you know, depression, brain fog, lack of energy, just to name a few things. Personally, I don't get 7 hours, maybe 6 to 7, depending on when I get to bed. But I do make sure that I make it up on the weekends. It's so important that if you start feeling that you're tired, that you book in to sleep. It's just like anything else. You don't want to let compound because it can affect your body, like driving up cortisol levels, stress, things like that. And when those things elevate, and if you're ever in like a position where you're trying to get either you're on a weight loss journey or a performance journey, you're going to not succeed. Like it's going to hold you back because you're not allowing yourself to get the amount of sleep needed. And you're also compounding it and tiring yourself, which then at the end does, like, your body will just literally take over and, you know, give you pneumonia, give you something that'll slow you down. And I've seen it happen so many times with athletes, friends of mine that are just like go training, race, training, event, like, and at, you know, in 2 years time, they've they've developed something like MS or that like a tumor or something, and it's absolutely can be prevented. So sleep is one huge thing that you need. Now your nutrients, of course, with everything else, there are certain nutrients we need on a daily basis, and are you getting them? Again, it comes down to tracking. Certain things like low iron can affect your energy levels. So making sure that you've got those high iron foods you're taking in on a daily basis. I don't talk about supplementation in this presentation, but the thing is that if you are taking vitamins, you are supplementing. A lot of people don't believe in it, but are taking vitamins, and that's basically what you're doing. You're not getting it from your food, so you have to supplement some other way. It's just like if you're not getting enough protein, you need to bring in protein powders and making sure you're getting quality protein powders, because there's a lot of bad, not so good protein combinations out there, I should say. Like if you look at one that has like 3 or 5 different proteins, but no percentages, I would just put it back on the counter. If there's things like, more than 5 ingredients, you probably should put it back. Aspartame, things, sugars, put those away. So here's a little, just write up on what these minerals do for our bodies. Iron, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and zinc, so important. And I just want to I should have put a slide in here for the immune system. I'm starting to read a lot more on that and about foods to really boost our immune system. Again, boosting our immune system comes down to sleep, food, exercise, managing stress. And these days and age is super important. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about nutritional timing. Now, this goes along with your workouts. Nutritional timing can be thought about how you're eating during the day as well. So every 2 to 3 hours, are you eating something? You should not be waiting until you're hungry to eat. If you need to put a timer on, put a timer on. Don't miss snacks. Don't work through lunches. Again, these things compound in your body. You are cannibalizing yourself from the inside out, depriving yourself of nutrients and food for energy. So nutritional timing is super important when you're talking about your everyday. It also obviously helps keeping blood sugar levels balanced, reduces cravings when you eat at the right times and you don't let yourself get hungry, eliminates the nighttime snacking, brings cortisol levels down, increased energy. So when we're talking about nutritional timing for performance, this is kind of like an example. Let's just say this is probably maybe one of my days, not lately, but last year. So breakfast, then I train. So I make sure I have I don't train 90 minutes on an empty stomach. You can get away with 45 minutes on an empty stomach, 30 minutes, but anything longer than that, you really should eat something because you want to get a quality workout. If you haven't broken the fast from the night before with something to eat, then you're just not going to have enough energy to finish what you want to do. And that's pretty important. Then after, we always talk about recovery, protein shake, BCAAs right after. So, and then having another meal in about an hour's time. So depending on what your 90 minutes look like, will depend on, how much you're going to eat. But it's always like one of those routines, like you eat before, you have your hydration, your water, your snack with you if you need during your workout. Don't ever wait till you're hungry when you're on when you're exercising, especially cardio, anything, always bring something with you. And then you have your recovery, and then your food, and then you go on with your day. So I also have before bed protein shake. So, and this is one of the things that I myself do. If I sit back and I go, did I get enough protein in during the day? Like considering like what my breakfast, my snack, my lunch, my supper look like. I'm like, probably not. And I'll have a protein shake before bed. And what that does is it helps build muscle, recover, boost my immune system, increases metabolism, cravings, weight loss. It has a whole bunch of benefits. So if you're ever hungry at night, have a protein shake. So I always say, have some sort of protein on hand. Now for cycling or, for cycling or any kind of activity, let's just say you're going out during calories. So let's just say you're going out for a long, so Sarah, you went for a long hike. So for you, that would be a really intense workout because you're not used to it. If I were to go out and ride with a group that's stronger than I am, that would be an intense workout for me. If Binu, you go out and mountain bike with your with a guy that is stronger on the mountain bike, that's going to be a tough workout for you, right? So whatever you're doing, it can be more intense. It doesn't matter. Like, so the thing is that let's think about what we're going to eat before. And maybe you might think of it, might not, but I always recommend a good, like big meal, at least an hour and a half beforehand, so that it's being absorbed and it's also going to be accessible energy. Now, what I do is I make a meal replacement shake and I add to it. So make it like 600 calories. And so I can drink it really quickly. It doesn't bloat me and I can continue and go for my ride. And I'm not burping up everything like while I'm riding on, and I have sustained energy. So here's a little trick, and is to bring 100 calorie snacks to start consuming every 45 minutes to an hour to maintain your energy. So super important. Like I said, you don't want to start eating when you are hungry or even starting to get hungry or even your energy level is starting to drop, because that's when it's kind of you've gone over the hump and you're on your way to bonking. You want to eat when you're not hungry.
Sylvie,
anybody bonked?
No. Have you ever, and Binu, have you ever seen these splits? This is, and they're actually big in the biking world in at least America. Because, so anyways, it's basically, they come in all different, this is almond butter and strawberry jam. It's 160 calories. And the way you're supposed to do it is, all you do is you knead it and then rip the top off and
oh my God.
Oh my gosh, peanut butter and jam taste nice.
And there is peanut butter. There's actually peanut butter and grape is my favorite. And then they just came out with a chocolate and a peanut butter one. But these are made
wow, I've
with,
never seen that actually.
Yeah, they're on Amazon, and they're made of all healthy stuff too. Like
cool.
The jam is completely pure. It's the organic cane sugar, strawberries, lemon juice, pectin, and citric acid only. And then like the peanut butter ones are made with just non-molded peanuts, like the best peanuts, because you're not really supposed to have peanuts depending. And they only use the best peanuts, but a lot of bikers use these actually. So I had to bring
awesome.
I wanted to bring it to your thing today because I was so excited.
Oh yeah.
Well, Sarah, can you just share